From Arizona, Mr. Grijalva, seek recognition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Pursuant to House Resolution 1519, I call up H.R. 8393 and ask for its immediate consideration in the House.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 462, H.R. 8393, a bill to enable the people of Puerto Rico to choose a permanent, non-territorial, fully self-governing political status for Puerto Rico and to provide for a transition to and the implementation of that permanent, non-territorial, fully self-governing political status and for other purposes.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1519, in lieu of the amendment in nature of a substitute recommended by the Committee on Natural Resources, printed in the bill, an amendment in the nature of a substitute consisting of the text of Rules Committee Print 11774 is agreed to, and the bill, as amended, is considered read. The bill shall be debatable for 1 hour, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Natural Resources or their respective designees. The gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Grijalva, and the gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Westerman, each will control 30 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Grijalva.
Thank you again, Madam Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and insert extraneous material into H.R. 8393.
Without objection.
Thank you. Excuse me, Madam Chair. Madam Speaker, thank you. I rise in support of 8393, legislation I was proud to introduce along with my colleagues Nidia Velazquez, Darren Soto, Jennifer Gonzalez Colon, and Majority Leader Steny Hoyer to resolve Puerto Rico's territorial status. This bill being on the floor today was far from assured. It was far from assured. There were many times over the past several weeks when it appeared there wasn't any hope of ever bringing this bill to the floor. In fact, my colleagues and I were negotiating final changes as recently as 24 hours ago. But with the prodding of Leader Hoyer, we persevered, and in spite of opposition to the historic nature of what we are about to accomplish, we persevered. I want to commend and congratulate my colleagues who put aside their philosophical differences and work to arrive at a compromise that we can all support. Last year, the Natural Resources Committee held 2 legislative hearings where Puerto Rican elected government officials, legal and human rights experts, and residents offered testimony and feedback to the committee on the details of those bills. And those bills that we were discussing were 2 bills, one dealing with primarily with statehood status, and the other one seeking a self-determination path. Those 2 bills were diametrically opposed, and until the negotiations began, little progress was seen moving the question of status forward. And the Puerto Rico Status Act combines important elements of these 2 bills to present a compromise that also incorporates input from a full range of voices among Puerto Rico's status debate, and that it would be supported by a majority of members of Congress. And that is the bill that we bring forward today. In addition to these, we had in-person public hearings, including over 100 individuals who shared comments and suggestions on the text with the delegation at our public forum in Puerto Rico. In addition to these in-person opportunities for public input, we also published the draft text on Popbox, an online submission tool that members of the public used to share more than 100 comments, all of which were reviewed and considered while developing the final language. The Puerto Rico Status Act is therefore the product of a participatory and an informed process. It incorporates expertise and knowledge from a wide range of stakeholders who have grappled with the dilemma of Puerto Rico's second-class political status for many, many years. Finding a resolution of Puerto Rico's political status has been elusive and difficult, and it's been that way for a long, long time. Recent efforts to resolve the issue began in 1991 with competing bills introduced in the House and in the Senate. followed by legislation sponsored by our former colleague Don Young in 1998, and finally the Puerto Rican Democracy Act in 2010, sponsored by then Puerto Rico resident commissioner and current governor Pierluisi. While each of those previous bills passed the House, as we hope our bill will today as well, they ultimately failed because they did not possess the necessary elements to end the colonial status of the island through a fair and informed process. In becoming chair of the Natural Resources Committee, I made the issue of resolving Puerto Rico's political status a priority. It is crucial to me that any proposal that Congress to decolonize Puerto Rico be informed and led by Puerto Ricans. As a non-Puerto Rican, I cannot claim the experience of Puerto Ricans who have fought for equality and autonomy for their island for so many years. However, as someone of Mexican descent and indigenous ancestry, I feel a sense of solidarity with the people of Puerto Rico in that enduring struggle. But we continue to strive for equality and preserve our traditions, as we all do that. And that struggle is a shared experience among marginalized and disfranchised people in this country and in Puerto Rico. I'm proud to be discussing a piece of legislation, a proposal today that assists the people of Puerto Rico to directly be involved in determining their political future. In recent years, we have seen too painfully that the current colonial territory status is no longer viable, is incapable of providing either adequate political or economic benefits to the people of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico's current status is what impedes its economic development. PROMESA and its Financial Oversight and Management Board, the shortcomings of the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, or PREPA, the inadequate federal response under the previous administration to disasters like Hurricane Maria and the COVID-19 pandemic. These are all the products of current territorial status. And the recent Supreme Court ruling have only further clarified that as a territory, Puerto Rico lacks the same constitutional protections and rights as in the 50 states. This bill would finally stop offering the problem as a continued solution, and will let the people of Puerto Rico choose a non-territory, non-colonial status for themselves. I'm extremely grateful to all the political and community leaders, residents, and staff who worked to produce this compromise and contributed to this bill. I also want to thank House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, the Governor of Puerto Rico, Pedro Pierluisi, Representatives Velázquez, Soto, González Colón, and Ocasio-Cortez for their leadership and dedication throughout a difficult but very necessary process. And I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves.